There's already more gold in the MSF economy right now. What else is going to be coming from the results of this Marvel Strike Force Players Voice Group? We got the leaders in this video to talk about the latest and what you could do to make your voice heard. And if you're ready for that, Valley Club, you're going to do, find that like button. Let's go smash it.
ValleyFlyin.
Hello. What is up, Valley Club? Welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. I'm ValleyFlyin, and we got some exciting news for you today. We have, once again, the leaders of the Marvel Strike Force Players Voice Group with the results of their awesome meeting with the devs. We already have more gold in the economy, but what else is coming? So with us today are the leaders of the group, F-Dog, Beta Ray, Bill, Sevi. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having us back.
Thank you guys for all you guys are doing. All this work that you guys are doing we're starting to see the results of it right now with the communication with the devs and all that stuff. What was your favorite part of the meeting that you had with the devs this week, F-Dog?
Well, it was just their intent. Like we had several executives there, decision makers, and they were very open to listening to us, and they, it was actually very positive, just in terms of their position on it. There was very little pushback on anything, and they promised that a lot of major changes were to come. I thought their response was great, and I also appreciate the fact that they took very quick steps, very quick goodwill steps to make the community, happy as well.
What was your big takeaway from this meeting, Beta Ray?
I think the big thing, and it's covered in Ryan Jacobson's letter as a follow-up to that, is that they acknowledge the fact that, for lack of a better way of putting it, that they've been somewhat tone deaf to the player community. Yeah. And that they're pivoting and they're taking advantage of the fact that there's a player's voice movement, and that they're going to be engaging with us on a long-term basis going forward to work collaboratively to help improve things. And I think one of the comments that was mentioned there is that they recognize that there's a lot of love and passion for the game within the community, and there is within Scopely as well. And so they want to just make sure that we're better aligned going forward. So I think that was very reassuring to hear from all levels of the participation that was there.
I like it. This is an awesome letter. I think their response to it is good, and I hope they make good on all the stuff that they told you guys and are telling the community, especially in this letter right here. Now, one of the big things that the chat was asking this morning on stream, Sevi, was this letter was pre-drafted, and how could they get a response that quickly? They gave it to you guys right after this, but they already had all the information, correct?
Yeah, so Ev has always been really transparent with them and what our goals are. And we try to share drafts of our documents in advance so that way they can have some time to kind of prepare and get ready for the response when we send over the final, to try to get this process moving on a little bit quicker. Because the first time that we sent the letter, it took them a full month to respond. And a lot of people felt like that was just not quick enough. And with the state of the current, the game right now, I think people could have waited a full month for, a response. So we really appreciate the fact that they were able to turn that around so quickly. They said that the award rewards were going to be updated June 18th, and it actually got put into game yesterday, and that was deliberate. They made that choice to not put things in and then go on a weekend, and they were trying to make sure that there weren't issues when they were doing that.
Yeah, it's in the game right now, and it's a lot more than I was expecting. I saw the letter.
It's a lot more than we were expecting.
We're just like, the top alliance is going to get 10 million extra. Even the bottom alliance getting 4 million. I thought the top would get like maybe 2 or 3, but yeah, this was awesome in my opinion. How much gold were you expecting the first time, Sevi?
Honestly, I didn't really have an idea of what they were going to do as far as the amount of gold. Personally, I was kind of along the same lines as you, Valley, like maybe 2 to 3 million. Like I didn't know exactly how much. And this really shows like their commitment to try to put the game economy back in a better space as far as it's concerned on gold. And again, this is a first step. So I kind of expect that there's going to be more items that they will be pushing those gold infusions out to kind of help with the burden of leveling characters up. I mean, it's over 20 million to level one from 95 all the way up.
Now, Avdog, one of the most exciting things that I took away from this letter is that all these steps that they're taking, all the things that they mentioned, these three big things, the gold, the agency, the Marvel Strike Force Players Council, these are just the first steps as a measure of good faith. They did say that they're going to address all the issues in the document, but some of them are going to take time. And, you know, some of the things they did say that in the document, okay, let me start this over, sorry. Now, Avdog, one of the most exciting things that I got from this document is that these 3 points that they mentioned, the gold, the agency, and the Marvel Strike Force Players Council, are just the first immediate steps. They're going to address all the issues in the game. And they said it might not align with all the points in the community, but they are looking at major ways to address the issues that that you guys have brought to them. What else do you hope to address, and what else can you share with us that was not in this letter?
Well, there were a couple things. I mean, one thing that surprised me was all of them are actually players in the game.
Okay.
That
would surprise me as well.
Yeah, but and over 1,000 days played. Like they're all hardcore players in the game, and you know, so they do have an idea of what the player sentiment is, and I really believe I was really taken aback by how sincere they were in their approach. You know, they listened to us. They gave us our time to say everything that we wanted to say. I think we went over a little bit and were unable to fully get a understanding of everything that they wanted to do, and they scheduled an immediate follow-up meeting for the next day.
Nice. So you've actually had 2 meetings. You've actually had 2 meetings with the devs.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So in this first meeting here, Beta Red Bill, you guys had not just Cerebro. I think a lot of the community was thinking that these were over the phone meetings or virtual meetings, and just with Cerebro, we had a lot of people there. The player experience team, Cerebro was there. Also, the MSF general manager who wrote that letter that everybody saw, MSF creative director, and the MSF director of product. So a lot of people were there. Now, one of the things they said, they related to us that they're working on responding to all these requests in the document. We talked about the first 3 that they're going to do. What are some of the things that you can share with us that they are also working on that are a little more long-term?
Well, I think going to the letter from Ryan, you know, there's been a lot of misunderstanding in terms of this as a first step. So take gold, for example. The injection that they did in terms of war rewards is just a part of that process. They're looking at other venues or aspects of the game where they can inject more gold too. So I think some people saw that as the answer to the community, and it's not. It's just the beginning of the answer. I would expect to see them looking at other game modes, perhaps, and don't quote me, obviously, for sure that these are where it's going to be. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're not looking for things like areas in campaign farming or in raid season rewards or other aspects where they can also put an injection of additional gold into there as well. This is, like you were asking earlier, this is not bad. It's a great start, but it's not going to solve the problem totally. And so we expect to see that there'll be a lot of other areas that they're going to focus on that particular issue, for example.
Just out of curiosity, did they mention increasing gold orbs or some other way to do that?
No, we actually didn't get into the specifics of that yet.
Okay.
Again, our time was limited. We did have a second meeting where we dove deeper into the Players Council specifically.
Okay.
And so we're going to have continuing meetings on each topic area. I think to your question to Evdog, one of the important things to stress here is, as opposed to in the past where, you know, frustrations have been tossed up to Cerebro or whoever else, and then we get some response at some point later. They're pushing. In addition to us pushing, they're pushing, and that was a really encouraging thing to see.
I also wanted to add from before that one of the most exciting things was their willingness to work with us jointly, and even in their communication, work jointly with us. I thought that was a very nice gesture. in terms of legitimizing what we did and moving forward as a community.
I like this. And this is a long-term thing that makes me very happy because they're working with us. And I think maybe if they've hit rock bottom, they realize they can't keep running business this way. They're going to be losing players. They're going to be losing revenue. They need to work with the community, make this a good game that all of us can enjoy, not just the folks at Scopely and not just players getting everything from Scopely, but a good relationship there.
It has to be a balance, right? And it can't be favored completely one way or the other. It has to be a good balance between the two. So.
Yeah, definitely. Because if they don't have what they want, they're going to shut this game down. And if we get if we don't have what we want, we're not going to play the game. So it does need to have that balance. And Sevi, one of the big things you said, the biggest takeaway, the biggest win that you wrote in this notification to the group is that the Players Council is agreed upon. And that was one of the big takeaways in the letter as well. Why is this such an important step?
Well, this is going to give us direct contact with the developers and various levels throughout Scopely to really be able to change the direction of the game and get the community's input in a more proactive approach here. And to be honest, in the second meeting that Bill had mentioned, we did go over the player council and kind of hashed out how things were going to be working with it, the size of it, the scope, and all that information. And we actually thought that it would take a while to put that together. And one thing that they did that really impressed me, and this is how I know they want to work with us, they said, put an interim one in until you get your elected going so we can keep this momentum going.
That's awesome.
And get more meetings and not just have to stall and wait for communication. So we have been able to appoint an interim council that is fairly representing all levels of the gameplay that we intend to have on the council anyway, to kind of work with us for the next month to a month and a half while we get that elected council in place. And more information will be coming out on that today. We're shooting for an announcement around 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern, kind of detailing what will be happening with the council, how you can apply for the council, what to expect, and the selection process as well.
Okay, and there was actually a long message that you wrote here, Beta Ray Bill, about what players can do right now and some of the details. What is the summarization of this? What players are doing right now for the Players Council? Give me the breakdown of this.
Well, so as Steffi was saying, so we've pulled together this interim council, which is essentially 5 key players, plus the 3 of us are going to help steer it as well for the next 30 to 45 days or so. And it's basically going to start the process of engaging with the appropriate people at Scopely. We're going to be addressing the topics that were in the original letter going forward. I'm sure there'll be some focus group breakouts on various portions of that, but we'll be engaging with them going forward. One of the first things I know is that we get a lot of questions about is that entire group is going to be under an NDA. So they're going to basically open the kimono to that group, not just about things that they're planning in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but 6 months, 9 months down the road. And that's one of the things you heard Stevie talk about earlier, is that we want to pivot to a proactive mode as opposed to a reactive mode with them. So they're going to open the kimono up and share with this group, these are the things that we're looking at doing, and it's a great opportunity to give them some feedback. Using the Crucible as an example, this would have been a perfect situation for that, where we could have easily said early, that 32-1 sounds great, don't do the conveyor belt one,
Well, so from the letter, it looks like they're going back on that. So that's an awesome result of gold and going back on season 3 of Cosmic Crucible. That is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing about that we were concerned about was it was going to take a while for them to go back on it. I think they heard the community loud and clear on that particular point. And we were worried that there was going to be a season 4 because it was too far in the process, and that we wouldn't be able to get change until season 5. But I think we're going to see a lot of change in season 4. And in fact, one of the things that they are doing, I know some of the other content creators have indicated this as well, is that they've opened it up to the council and to the community about some ideas. What would you like to see in Crucible next time? And there's some really creative ideas I'm seeing coming to fruition out of that. Some fun things.
All right, and I'm going to throw it back to you guys that are watching here. If you have some creative ideas of what you want to see up in Cosmic Crucible, leave it in the comments, guys. Now, one of the big questions, Evdog, that I've got from the community, how can they be a part of the council? Because what it says here, it's not just for whales and krakens, also mid-level spenders, free-to-play adjacent spenders who are usually free-to-play with some bias, and then free-to-play players. How can someone that wants to get their voice heard, how can they be a part of this movement, Evdog, and be one of these representatives and join this Illuminati?
So the first thing they can do is join the server, because the process will be held there. We'll have an application on the server for people to whoever wants to come to be on the board to apply, and we'll do the voting tiered throughout the month for each community section. So the best thing that they could do is join the server, contribute, let your voice be heard. I did want to address one thing, actually,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
which was the one point of disagreement we had, which I thought they handled really well.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I'm curious. What is this?
And it actually,
I don't even know to ask this question. This is good.
And it actually affects you. Was one of the things we wanted on the council was CC representation.
Okay.
And they weren't against it, but they made a valid point that they had a revised plan for the Envoy program that would give you guys more agency, and that they did not want the two programs to compete against each other.
Okay.
So their point was, while we might get more advanced information, the ability to report it would come through you guys first.
Gotcha.
And I thought it was valid. That was one thing we ended up kind of agreeing on, which is a little different from the original ask that we had. So I'm interested for you to tell me if that comes to fruition.
I'm actually, we've got some communication with the devs right now as content creators, but I'm actually kind of happy, because if you guys are going to get so far advanced notice, one of the big things is, when I get NDA information, I can't talk about that. So if there's information that I know about 6 months from now and I can't say anything, that like,
well, that's what
I'm
they were
not going to
saying.
be happy. I'm like, I can't say
that
anything.
was exactly what they were saying.
That's great. I'm glad they're separating it like that. So
but they did say that they did say that the ability to report it would go through you guys first.
Yeah, awesome. Good. Now, one thing I'm curious, kind of confused about, Savvy, it says that there's a 30-day period. Is this for the temporary part of the council, or is this, it's going to rotate every 30 days? And if it's going to rotate every 30 days, how is that going to work with the NDA and the advanced information?
No. That's just for the interim council.
Just for the interim, and then it's going to be permanent after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not permanent. They're.
Explain this. And
we're getting
all the
into the
information is coming out later
here.
today, so I'm trying to preview some of the stuff.
So there is going to be a set term limit, and because this is the inaugural council, we don't want everybody being done at the same time. We'd like to stagger that. And that's one of the things that the interim council is going to try to help develop is the rules and the procedures of the council, the timelines of when people will be rolling off and new ones will be rolling on. But this interim council is really just giving us, a little bit more direct communication while we're still trying to get this the elected portion set up, because the elected portion has to go through an application and review process and then voting, and that's going to take at least 30 days, maybe a little more. But we don't want people to think that the interim council is 100% always going to be the appointed people. We want them to know that they have a say in who's getting up there, and really being able to have some agency in that process.
Gotcha. So it's the 30 days is for the interim, and then there's going to be permanent representatives, but they're also going to rotate and cycle out, just so that's not the same people. Is that?
Yeah, and it might the regular elected council will be for a longer term, but they will be cycling. So
Gotcha. That seems smart. Kind of like a real politics. You're getting the elected officials that have term limits on there. So.
Yeah, that was kind of the thought process too, was to kind of model some of the staggering after like the House of Reps and the Senate, where they're not always up all at the same time. Because if you bring in a whole new council all at once, then you got to start from scratch.
I like it.
Some knowledge of what's going on. So
yeah, that's smart. You guys are looking at all the problems beforehand and addressing them. Bill, I am very, very optimistic in the direction of the game, what you guys have done. I'm so thankful for all the work that you guys have done, and very optimistic in the future of Marvel Strike Force. What is your big takeaway that you can reveal? I know there's a lot of stuff that you can't say, but what is the big takeaway that you can reveal to the community that you want to get across?
I think a couple of things. One is obviously we're focusing a lot on the council, and I think that we're hinging a lot on that. And the commitment is there from the community side, and the commitment is there from the company side, and I think that's super important. As I said earlier, I think the biggest thing was in the past, they've been very reactionary to issues in game, and what we're seeing now is a behavior where they're actually pushing to get ahead of that in a lot of ways. So the fact that we were talking about earlier that we had our second meeting yesterday, and that it was them saying, I mean, obviously we felt this way too, but it was them saying, we don't want to wait getting this Players Council going. We know that you're going to go through this process that's going to get announced today, but we want to get this thing going starting next week. So put together an interim one. I think that was huge. It's like we're prepared. We're ready to open the kimono. We're ready to share information and start to get input and start to dig or dive deep into some of these issues and see what we can do. Those are, I think, a huge sign to me about wanting to collaborate, which is just huge.
I love it. Yeah, especially that they suggested getting an interim, so they don't have to wait getting ideas from you guys.
Right, exactly. And I think that the other thing, just for anybody watching, that they need to understand, I know that we're all frustrated with a lot of things. It's going to take time, right?
Yeah.
Some of these things are quick fixes that they can put in game. Like the rewards update that they did, that was something simple they can do. Some of it's infrastructurally that's going to take time to change. So just be patient. We can't boil this ocean overnight. It's going to take a process. But the fact that they're working, coming to the table and willing to work on that stuff, that's huge. And number two, I don't expect that we're going to win on every point. We have to pick and choose which are the victories that we celebrate and which are the ones that we can live with. And that's important going forward.
Yeah, I think and you guys have got a bunch of wins already. F-Dog, people should join the server, get involved. What else can they do if they want to make their voices heard? What other call to actions can you give the rest of the community?
Well, I did also want to say thank you to the community for participating so heavily in the hashtag movement. The purpose of that was to show community support, show that we could unite the community, show that we were standing as one. And I think that gave them, that showed them that they could trust in dealing with us, dealing with us as the voice, as the front. And that was huge. And I'd just like to thank everybody for that. But they can continue to participate, continue to come into the server and add their suggestions, take on the polls. We send all this stuff to the devs, and we don't necessarily get immediate response. It's just information for them to look at as they do their planning, and maybe their product, even in the first stages, end up being better due to those suggestions.
Nice. Well, I am looking forward to all that is coming. I want to thank all you guys for what you guys have done so far and the work that you continue to do with this stuff. It's been a major change. And again, thank you for all the alliances that supported this and made your voices heard, because it gave the players' voice a lot more ammunition with their meeting with the devs. Thanks for watching, though, guys. A lot of great stuff coming. Make sure you look for the announcement that should be coming later today on that server. Make sure you join the server. The links will be down below. I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin out.